Imagine standing on a world that looks familiar at first glance. Rust-colored mountains, endless deserts, and a horizon bathed in a cold red glow. But then, the silence hits you. No birds, no rustling leaves, not even the faint hum of life. Mars is a planet that seems so close to Earth, yet it hides a terrifying reality. Temperatures can plummet to -80 degrees Fahrenheit at night. Storms can swallow the entire planet for weeks, and radiation from the sun strikes its surface with deadly force. For decades, Mars has fueled our dreams of exploration and colonization. But behind that dream lies a darker truth. Mars isn't just another world waiting for us. It's a world that could very well destroy us. Tonight, we dive into the haunting side of the red planet and uncover why Mars is far more dangerous than we ever imagined. Mars has always held a strange grip on human imagination. For centuries, we've looked up at that red dot in the night sky and wondered if it was more than just another planet. To ancient civilizations, Mars was the god of war, a fiery symbol of chaos and destruction. And in many ways, that old myth still holds true, because beneath its rusty beauty lies a world that feels hostile at every turn. At first glance, Mars doesn't seem so different from Earth. It has mountains, valleys, canyons, and even polar ice caps. But these familiar features are just an illusion of safety. Mars is a desert wasteland on a scale we can barely comprehend. The air is razor thin, about 1% the thickness of Earth's atmosphere, meaning you couldn't breathe without a suit, not even for a single minute. Worse, that fragile blanket of atmosphere can't protect you from radiation pouring in from space or from the sun's deadly rays. Every second on Mars is a silent battle against an invisible enemy. Then, there's the cold. Earth might have chilly winters, but Mars takes it to an entirely different level. Average temperatures hover around -80 degrees Fahrenheit, and in some regions, it can plunge far lower. Imagine stepping outside and feeling the air so cold it could freeze carbon dioxide, the very gas we exhale, straight into dry ice. Life, at least as we know it, wasn't meant to exist under such extremes. And if the cold doesn't scare you, the storms will. Mars is home to dust devils the size of skyscrapers and planet-wide storms that can last for weeks, blocking out the sun and plunging the surface into darkness. Imagine trying to survive when solar panels stop working. Visibility drops to zero, and every grain of dust is laced with static electricity that could fry your equipment. On Earth, storms eventually pass, but on Mars, they feel more like a relentless siege from the planet itself. Yet despite all these dangers, Mars still tempts us. It's the closest planet where we might one day build a second home for humanity. Its days are almost the same length as Earth's. It has seasons, and frozen water hides beneath its surface. These similarities whisper to us, maybe it's possible. Maybe Mars could be ours. But as scientists and astronauts continue to study it, one thing becomes clear. Mars is not a planet that gives up its secrets easily. It's a place that tests the limits of human endurance, a stage set for either our greatest triumph or our ultimate failure. This is the paradox of Mars, a world that looks familiar enough to invite us, yet harsh enough to kill us. And before we can even dream of calling it home, we must face the chilling truth of what it really means to live under its crimson sky. So, let's imagine for a moment that humans are actually living on Mars. Picture it, a small outpost of white domes and metal habitats set against the red desert, solar panels stretching out like giant black wings, and astronauts moving carefully in bulky suits. At first glance, it feels like a scene straight from a sci-fi movie. But the truth is, daily life on Mars would be anything but cinematic. It would be a constant fight for survival, where even the smallest mistake could turn deadly. Start with the air. On Earth, we take oxygen for granted. Every breath effortless, invisible, free. On Mars, breathing is a privilege controlled by machines. Inside the habitat, oxygen must be carefully manufactured and recycled. Astronauts would live in a closed-loop system where even their exhaled breath is captured, filtered, and reprocessed. A leak in the wall, a crack in the dome, or a glitch in the machinery, and within minutes, the air could vanish. Just stepping outside would require hours of preparation, suiting up in armor-like gear that protects you from the vacuum and radiation. A walk to repair a solar panel would feel less like a stroll and more like a high-stakes mission. Then there's food. On Earth, you can run to the store or order delivery in seconds. On Mars, every calorie must be earned. Crops would have to grow in greenhouses using artificial light and recycled water. Potatoes, lettuce, beans, simple foods, carefully cultivated in soil mixed with nutrients and filtered water extracted from underground ice. Meals would be repetitive, bland, and controlled. A failed crop isn't just an inconvenience. It could mean starvation. Every bite is survival disguised as dinner. Water is another constant concern. Mars has frozen water buried beneath its surface, but extracting it is no easy task. Machines would need to drill, melt, and purify it. And because water is life, used for drinking, for farming, for making oxygen, every drop must be recycled, even wastewater, even sweat. Nothing can be wasted because Mars doesn't forgive carelessness. Now add the psychological weight. Imagine waking up every morning knowing the nearest human settlement is millions of miles away, and the next supply ship won't arrive for months, maybe years. Outside your habitat lies nothing but endless rock and dust. A world where you can't step outside without a suit. Days might feel long and lonely, and the silence, broken only by the hum of machines, would remind you constantly that you're not at home. For some, the isolation would be unbearable. And then there's the danger of Mars itself. Dust storms could roll in at any time, plunging your outpost into darkness. Static-charged dust could creep into equipment, clogging filters and grinding machinery to a halt. One broken part, one miscalculation, and suddenly, the fragile balance between survival and disaster tips in the wrong direction. This is the reality of everyday life on Mars. It isn't glamorous. It isn't heroic. It's exhausting, risky, and fragile. And yet, this is exactly the life humanity dreams of one day building, a life where every moment is a reminder that Mars is not a second Earth, but a harsh frontier that demands total respect. Surviving here wouldn't just test our technology, it would test our spirit, our endurance, and our very definition of what it means to be human. If daily survival on Mars sounds terrifying, the planet hides even darker truths that go beyond simple discomfort. Mars isn't just a harsh desert. It's a world filled with mysteries and dangers that science is only beginning to understand. And each of these unknowns could turn life on Mars into a nightmare far worse than we can currently imagine. Start with radiation. On Earth, our thick atmosphere and magnetic field act like a shield, blocking harmful cosmic rays and solar storms. Mars doesn't have that protection. Standing on the Martian surface is like standing inside a slow, invisible microwave. Every second, high-energy particles from the sun and deep space are bombarding the ground, slicing through cells, damaging DNA, and increasing the risk of cancer. Astronauts could shield themselves inside thick habitats or underground bunkers, but outside, even a simple walk could slowly cook them from the inside out. Imagine building a future on a planet where the sunlight itself is a silent killer. Then, there's the gravity problem. Mars has only about 1/3 of Earth's gravity. At first, it might sound fun, jumping higher, carrying heavy objects with ease. But long-term, this difference is a ticking time bomb for the human body. Muscles weaken, bones lose density, and hearts struggle to pump blood properly. Scientists don't even know if children could ever be born healthy on Mars. Could humanity really thrive in a place where our very biology starts to fail us? Beyond biology, Mars holds geological mysteries that raise even more unsettling questions. Beneath the planet's surface, researchers suspect there may be pockets of liquid water, kept warm by underground heat. Where there's water, there could be life. But if that life exists, what would it look like? Microbes that evolved in total isolation, under brutal radiation and toxic soil, could be unlike anything we know. And if humans accidentally discover or awaken such organisms, what would happen? Would they be harmless, or would they bring risks we aren't prepared to handle? And let's not forget the storms. While dust storms are well known, there's evidence that lightning can strike through Martian dust clouds. In a world where static electricity clings to every grain of dust, a single spark could fry electronics or ignite oxygen tanks. Imagine living on a planet where even the weather conspires against your survival. A planet where the sky itself might decide to strike. But perhaps the most chilling reality is psychological. Humans are not built for endless isolation and confinement. Tensions can grow quickly in small groups. Add in fear of death, constant danger, and the knowledge that Earth is months away at best, and the mental strain could break even the strongest minds. A simple disagreement could spiral into chaos, turning fellow colonists into rivals in a place where cooperation is the only lifeline. The warlike image of Mars as the god of battle suddenly feels all too real. This is Mars stripped of wonder, not a playground for exploration, but a crucible of survival. Radiation, gravity, hidden life, electrical storms, and the crushing weight of isolation. These are not just obstacles. They are potential disasters waiting to happen. For all its beauty in the night sky, Mars may not be the shining frontier of human destiny. It may instead be the place where we confront the harshest truth of all. Not every world is meant for us. When we talk about Mars, it's easy to focus only on the fear, the storms, the cold, the radiation. But step back for a moment, and there's a bigger picture we can't ignore. Mars isn't just another planet in our solar system. It's a mirror reflecting humanity's deepest ambitions, fears, and questions about survival. And in many ways, what Mars represents may be even more terrifying than the planet itself. First, Mars challenges our definition of home. On Earth, we take comfort in knowing that this planet was shaped for us. Breathable air, protective atmosphere, fertile soil, abundant water. Mars reminds us that Earth is a rare exception, not the rule. If humanity is serious about becoming a multi-planet species, we'll have to accept that most worlds are hostile, unforgiving, and indifferent to our existence. Mars is the first step into that reality, a lesson that survival beyond Earth will never come easy. Then there's the question of technology. Everything on Mars, air, food, water, power, depends on human-made systems. This forces us to confront how fragile our inventions really are. A broken pump, a failed circuit, or a glitch in software could mean the difference between life and death. Living on Mars would demand perfection from machines and from ourselves, a level of precision rarely seen in human history. In a way, Mars exposes not just the weakness of our bodies, but the limits of our technology. On a deeper level, Mars also forces us to think about the future of humanity itself. Why are we so desperate to reach this world? Is it curiosity, or is it survival? With climate change, rising seas, and dwindling resources on Earth, Mars sometimes feels like an escape hatch, a backup plan for civilization. But the haunting truth is that Mars isn't a backup. It's far more dangerous than the problems we face here at home. If we can't take care of Earth, what chance do we really have on a planet that actively works against us? There's also the moral question. If we do establish a colony on Mars, what does that mean for the planet itself? Mars has been untouched for billions of years, a frozen relic of the solar system's past. If life exists there, even microscopic life, do we have the right to change its destiny? To flood it with human presence, machinery, and infrastructure? Colonizing Mars isn't just a scientific challenge. It's an ethical dilemma about how far we're willing to go to expand our reach. And yet, perhaps that's why Mars is so captivating. It's not just about conquering another world. It's about confronting who we are as a species. Mars forces us to look at our flaws, our strengths, and our endless hunger for exploration. It asks us to wrestle with hard questions. Can we adapt? Can we cooperate? Can we survive in a place designed to kill us? More importantly, should we? In the end, Mars isn't just a planet out there in space. It's a test of human resilience, of our ability to innovate, and of our willingness to carry our dreams into the most dangerous of frontiers. Whether we pass or fail will say less about Mars and far more about us. In the end, Mars is more than just a planet. It is a paradox, a place that inspires wonder and awe, while at the same time confronting us with fear and danger. We've looked at its crimson deserts, its frozen poles, and its storm-choked skies, and we've seen the haunting truth. Mars doesn't want us there. Every part of its nature is stacked against human survival, and yet that very hostility is what makes it so magnetic. Because if we can survive Mars, maybe we can survive anything. This is the climax of the Martian story, a confrontation between human ambition and the cold indifference of a world that doesn't care if we live or die. On one side, a planet shaped by billions of years of violence, asteroid impacts, volcanic eruptions, global dust storms. On the other side, a species driven by curiosity, courage, and a relentless refusal to stop reaching. Mars doesn't bend, but neither do we. And in that clash, humanity reveals its truest self. The red planet forces us to face uncomfortable questions. What does it mean to leave Earth behind, even for a moment? What risks are we willing to take for the dream of a second home? And if we fail, if Mars proves too hostile, too cruel, what will that say about us? Will we see it as defeat, or will it be the spark that pushes us to adapt, innovate, and try again? For every danger Mars throws at us, there is a chance to grow stronger, smarter, more resilient. And perhaps that is Mars's greatest gift. Not as a home, not as an escape, but as a challenge, a reminder that survival is never guaranteed, that progress comes only through struggle, and that the universe owes us nothing. Mars strips us bare and asks the hardest question of all. Do we truly have what it takes to go beyond the cradle of Earth? As we look up at the red glow in the night sky, Mars remains a haunting beacon. It lures us with the promise of discovery, but warns us with the certainty of danger. It may never be a paradise, but it will always be a proving ground. And whether we conquer it or fall to its brutal reality, one thing is certain: Mars will forever change the story of humanity. So the next time you see that red star shining above, remember, it isn't just another planet. It's a test waiting in the cold void of space. And the question is simple: are we ready to face it? If you found this journey into the dark side of Mars as fascinating as we did, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with friends who love space as much as you do. Because this is only the beginning. Our universe is full of mysteries, and together we're going to uncover them one story at a time.